Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Sydney Peace Prize Award Ceremony and Lecture. I too would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. I also pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. The Sydney Peace Foundation was founded in 1998 by Professor Stuart Rees to promote peace with justice, human rights, and non-violence by recognising world leaders for peace. The prize remains Australia's only international prize for peace. We are grateful for our patron, the Lord Mayor of Sydney, Clover Moore AO, for her unwavering support of not only the foundation, but for human rights and justice. The Lord Mayor is responsible for the city being a refugee welcome zone, has backed the Racism Not Welcome Here campaign, is a staunch defender of protest rights, and is a constant advocate for peace. Sydney Peace Prize laureates are some of the world's most effective peacemakers. They find solutions to the world's most pressing problems and inspire us to be the change that we want to see. Past laureates include Dr. Hanan Ashrawi, Vandana Shiva, Arundhati Roy, and former Amnesty Secretary General Irene Khan, who is now the UN Special Rapporteur on the promotion and protection of freedom of expression. As an Australian of Palestinian descent, the last year has been devastating. And I know that this feeling of constant grief and mourning is shared by many in the room tonight. As a member of the Sydney Peace Foundation Jury and Council, I am proud and honoured to recognise the International Committee and Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, whose network of more than 16 million volunteers and staff around the world are dedicated to working for the good of humanity. The movement's mission is to reduce or prevent human suffering wherever it is found. National societies embody the work and the principles of the movement in 191 countries. They provide disaster relief, health and social services, and educate the public on international humanitarian law, otherwise known as the rules of war. During times of armed conflict, national societies also assist civilian populations. The movement is impartial, neutral, and independent, whose sole humanitarian mission is to protect the lives and dignity of victims of war. And there is no doubt that the need for the movement has never been greater, with conflicts in the Sudan, Ukraine, and the Occupied Palestinian Territory, to name a few. The Red Cross and Red Crescent emblems are symbols of hope and humanity. They signify neutrality and protection during times of armed conflict. Yet in the Occupied Palestinian Territory, the Palestinian Red Crescent continue to come under attack. When awarding the prize this year, the jury especially recognised and acknowledged the brave heroes of the Palestinian Red Crescent who are operating in the most dangerous of conditions. Their teams have been attacked, tortured, killed, forcibly disappeared, their ambulances and healthcare services damaged or destroyed. A chapter was first set up in Jerusalem and Palestine in 1910 and formed in a refugee camp in 1968 in Jordan to cater to the health needs of Palestinians. They became a national society in 1969. Ever since, they have been a key actor, providing health and social services, and they employ tens of thousands of Palestinian, Arab, and foreign national staff and volunteers. They have been working day and night to provide life-saving aid to those in Gaza. First responders take tremendous risks in attempting to reach casualties and those in need. I want to take a moment to share the story of Henida, an emergency medical technician. She describes her profession as one of hardship, struggle, exhaustion, and psychological pressure. She says that they know that they are a target at every moment and are constantly threatened with death. Her darkest times are when her colleagues leave smiling on a life-saving mission, only to return killed in their ambulances. But in the end, she says, what brings her happiness during her deepest despair, is when she's in the street and someone says to her, "Do you remember how you saved me?" And her exhaustion disappears. Hanida is one of 1,600 Palestinian Red Crescent members who continue responding despite the risks to herself, her team, her family, and her colleagues. They endure the same conditions as the other 1.9 million Palestinians currently trapped in Gaza. In the Occupied Palestinian Territory, civilians, humanitarians, healthcare workers, journalists are all under attack despite being protected under international humanitarian law. They are and should never be a target. Over 300 humanitarians have been killed, including Australian Zomi Francom, and 885 healthcare workers. We have witnessed schools, hospitals, shelters, and refugee camps continue to be attacked or destroyed. In Gaza, no one and nowhere is safe. And now the violence and aggression has spilled into Lebanon, threatening to engulf the entire region, with UN peacekeepers, humanitarians, medical workers, and civilians also under attack. I believe in international law and justice, a system born from humanity's darkest moments to prevent the atrocities from World War II from ever recurring, serving the purpose of universal human rights protection. This year marks the 76th anniversary of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the 75th anniversary of the Geneva Conventions. Yet the crisis in Gaza has made one thing painfully clear. The very architects of the international legal system are the very ones undermining it. A small but powerful few continue to flagrantly disregard and violate international law and international humanitarian law, undermining peace with justice, human rights, and freedom. While the global majority demand a ceasefire, they continue to act with full impunity. The Sydney Peace Foundation welcomes Australia's recent development of recognising the sovereignty of a Palestinian state. However, we call on Australia to take a stronger stance and do everything within its economic and diplomatic power to stop aggression, human rights abuses, war crimes, and violations of international humanitarian law. And most importantly, to take a universal approach when condemning and taking action against those who violate the international rules-based order. Those responsible for human rights atrocities, war crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, and violations of international humanitarian law must be held to account and face trial regardless of who they are. No one is above the law, and the international community must respect the rule of law. States, including Australia, must not and cannot accept blatant disregard of international law and international humanitarian law, as well as the binding decisions of the UN Security Council and the rulings of the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court. The longer impunity prevails, the longer human rights and the Geneva Conventions become irrelevant. States themselves designed the international legal system and humanitarian law to preserve, defend, and protect our common humanity. Failure to do so will only lead to more instability, aggression, and conflict, with civilians and humanitarians paying the ultimate price with their lives. Australia has a proud history in the formation of international law, with our former Foreign Minister Doc Everett helping draft the Universal Declaration. Today, more than ever, we must remember the spirit of the UDHR, the Geneva Conventions, and the principles of universality, protection, freedom, and peace with justice for all. Our humanity depends on it. Thank you.